I never would have thought that I was so lucky. This story happened to me about a year ago, but I will remember it until the end of my days. Have you ever felt like you were one step away from some disaster, but you miraculously escaped? No? Then it's time to learn about it using my example. I work as an accountant. I won't give you my name. I always come home late. I live on the outskirts of the city in a one-room apartment that I inherited from my mother. My house is a 9-story building with a playground in front of it. There are several more yards with the same houses around me, and then there is the railway and the station. As a rule, only freight trains arrive there. There are many trees and bushes growing in the courtyards, and lanterns illuminate the street well. I often see young people here, most likely students, who study, work and rent apartments. Apartments for rent are cheap here. One autumn evening, I was returning home. There were almost no people on the street anymore. The autumn darkness had already swallowed up the streets of my city, so I walked carefully and looked at my feet. She turned into the courtyard and went to her entrance. The code always takes a long time to type, as the buttons are already sagged and the contacts are worn out. Finally, I opened the door, went up the stairs, and called the elevator. While I was standing, I noticed dirty footprints that were right next to the elevator and led from the entrance. It's at times like this that I realize how hard it is to be a janitor. I live on the 7th floor, and I don't like going up there. The elevator arrived, and its doors creaked open. I went inside and pressed the button. The doors closed. The elevator itself rises slowly and rarely breaks down, but that day was an exception. On the 3rd floor, the elevator just stopped and there was silence. The elevator seemed to be in an empty space. It seemed. My panic started the moment I realized that my phone was dead and the dispatcher's call button hadn't been working for 2 months. I tried to open the doors, but I didn't have the strength. Then I started knocking on the doors and calling for help, tried to press the elevator buttons, but nothing helped. I just sat on the floor and waited for help. I dozed off a little from exhaustion, but soon I was woken up by some kind of crash. When I realized that someone had opened the door to the apartment, I just flew off the floor. I started banging on the elevator doors and shouting for help. To my surprise, when I finished knocking, I heard footsteps on the landing. Slow steps. It felt like whoever was coming up was trying to be a little careful. The footsteps stopped near the elevator. I was silent. Someone on the other side pressed the call button, but the elevator doors did not open. Then someone behind the doors tried to open the doors himself, but he couldn't. I tried to talk to the person behind the door, but there was silence in response. His attempts to get inside continued for a few more minutes, and then everything went quiet. A miracle happened, and the elevator went on. There was no limit to my joy. On my floor, I quickly entered the apartment, changed my clothes, had dinner, and went to bed. In the morning, I was woken up by the doorbell. I barely got up and opened the door. 2 policemen were standing on the threshold. They asked me questions about where I was last night and if I had heard anything. I told them everything as it happened. It turned out that a brutal murder of a family who lived in one of the apartments took place on the 3rd floor at night. The grandfather from their family had some kind of mental illness, and he had a seizure. He slaughtered all his relatives, and then got out onto the stairs, where I just stopped on the elevator. There was blood all over the stairs, and the elevator doors were scratched with a knife. My grandfather was taken to a mental hospital,